Hi, I'm Deborah Jenssen, and I just wanted to let you guys know that I just had a wonderful interview with Keith Andrew, and I highly recommend that anyone who wants to do an interview with him, go for it. He was wonderful. He made me feel very comfortable, brought back a lot of little memories, and I actually wanted to continue going on and on and on with him. I'm very proud of him for what he's doing and what he's doing it for and how he feels about his work. And I encourage anyone to definitely interview with him. It was a really nice experience.
Welcome to the KeithAndrewNetWork. This is episode 511. I'm here as Deborah Jenssen. I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
You're welcome.
Now, for people who want to know what my talk show is about, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you want to be. And to prove to them you can stem out to something. So hashtag break the labels. So that being said, half hour, 32 minutes of your time. Say anything you want, talk about whatever you want. Freedom of speech, self-expression. And in a way it is uncensored because it's freedom of speech. And starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Ooh, that's narrow it down.
All right. How was life growing up?
Okay, life growing up was good. I grew up on the East Coast, upstate New York. Didn't have much to offer me, though, as far as what I wanted to do. At 3 years old, I wanted to be a dancer. My parents gave me a piano or a pair of ballet slippers, and I wanted the ballet slippers. So I pursued that, and I had this little dream when I was a little girl, and I grew up, and it was still a dream, and I lived in Rochester, and I took my dance classes, and everything was dance related, and I couldn't wait to get out of high school and pursue that against many people who thought I was crazy for wanting to pursue a life like that and actually make a living at it. So I had to give it a try anyway.
Right.
So I went to college from there, Boston Conservatory of Music, and that was fantastic, probably one of the better memories of my life. And I stayed there for a little bit, and then I came out to California to do it. I mean, I was in some companies in Boston and got really involved in the arts. And Boston is like, I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's fantastic. It's just Berklee School of Music was attached to mine, the best jazz musicians in the world, classical, modern, I mean, just everything all wrapped up into one. So it was fantastic. Then I came out here, never being out in California. I just decided that it was either New York, which I pretty much had been brought up on the East Coast, so why stay there? And there's in California at the time, in the late 70s, there was so much film. All the film was being done out here. Film, television, commercials, shows too, But in New York, it was kind of limited in that time. More like, okay, I would most likely be doing Broadway or something like that. So I decided to come out here. And I was really glad I did, because that is that whole variety of work that was offered to someone who got into that group, who worked. And it was rough right in the beginning, but as soon as I started working, one thing led to another, and I didn't stop. It was fantastic.
Now, Nanette, with that being said, who influenced you to become a dancer, and are you still a dancer?
I will always be a dancer. I think once you're a dancer, it just doesn't ever go away. I mean, I'm not dancing professionally, getting paid for it. I'm not competing against 20-year-olds. I would have to be a nutcase if I did that. I had my time, and I embellished it. I I embraced it. I lived it. I did it. I was very satisfied with it, my career, and then it was just like, you slowly. It's kind of like an athlete, It's not. It's a short-lived career. Um, I go out with my friends. I dance all the time. I may teach some classes every once in a while. I did teach for a while, and that's kind of giving back. Dancing wise, right now, I sing professionally a lot. I incorporate a lot of dancing in my show, but it's not choreographed or anything like that. It's just because I have rhythm and I have to move to the music, you know. Um,
Well, you mentioned a show. What type of show do you do?
um, what my singing thing that I do now, I have a duo, a trio, a band, and depends on the venue what they want. We do a lot of blues, classic rock, cover all cover tunes. It's a lot of fun. It's just fun, and as a performer, uh, I feel that that's part of me. I always have to be doing that in some way, shape, or form. So that actually it's like my therapy, too. And it's great. I have a lot of fun doing it. And most of the musicians that I work with, some of them do it for a living, but a lot of them are in the same place. They used to do it professionally and they just do it for fun now. So it's kind of nice that way because you don't feel like stressed out. You don't feel like you have to prove anything. We're not looking for a hit record. We're not looking for any kind of, anything. We're just using what we've learned and using the tools that we have and just giving it back and having a great time. I've been doing it for about 10 years now.
Yeah, absolutely. And now going back to your dancing careers, when you first started, was there any mistakes? Did you ever cause like an accidental pile up or anything? Or was there ever like a miscommunication? Just for fun and goofs.
Um, that I would have to think about because, of course, there's millions of mistakes that were made, things that were said that maybe shouldn't have been said. I was very rebellious when I was younger, so and there were a lot of Harvey Weinsteins out there, So I it's hard in that way because yeah, you're kind of like put in some category, you're a dancer for one, and people think as a dancer for some reason that you may be, I don't want to say you just don't have the values or you know what I'm trying to say. It's just like it's hard. I mean, dancing on TV shows, first of all, the costumes that you wear, we're very physical people. So, I mean, we don't really think anything of it. And really, we're just thinking of our bodies in motion. And like an actor who's trying to describe something for a show, we're describing that physically with our bodies, telling a story. And so it's more artistic in our view, but in other people's, it's like, oh, wow, look at that costume. Wow, her butt showing. Wow, look at her legs. Wow, it's just all kind of like construed in a different manner. So you sort of get used to that, but some people can get used to it easily. For me, it was I kind of like battled with that a little bit, but it didn't really bother me. It's just that I didn't let it step in the way of me going forward. And if someone got in the way and tried to use their power for me getting anywhere, it was different because when you're a dancer, you have to be able to do that job. You can't go in and go out. You have to be able to do it. If you can't do what they're asking you, then you can't get that job. So for me, that's why I didn't get into acting more. Was for that simple reason. I can deliver because you have to be able to do this. You can't have some person who just wants to have fun with somebody else, get the part, it's not going to work out. I didn't want to be put on the bench like that. So for me, dancing was always my first love, and it will always be my love. I'll probably die with it being my last love.
No,
So
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. As far as mistakes, I mean, literally mistakes. Uh, hmm, I mean, mistakes that were done on a show. You're talking about. I don't know what kind of mistakes you're talking about. You're talking about mistakes verbally with people, or
No,
you're talking about mistakes physically
I
being
mean,
made doing it.
for like an example, you're supposed to be walking in a straight line and you accidentally trip over yourself and you cause like a pile up.
Okay, okay. Oh well, in that respect, I have a lot of. That was my thing. When you're being televised, and technically they have everything all set up. The director or even the camera guys, I mean, if we have to stop and do it over and over and over for them most of the time, if they didn't get their cue right, if they didn't get the lights right, if they didn't get the shot at the angle they were supposed to. But from a dancer's point, if we messed up and we knew we could do so much better, most of these people couldn't tell if you're supposed to step with your right foot or your left foot, or you didn't get there on time, or the counts were off, and a numerous amount of things. So in order to be able to do it over again and make sure you could do it over again, because just a little mess up, once again, they're going to go, oh, it's totally okay. It was fine. Next, I would. I would fall. Sometimes I would literally fall, physically fall in front of my partner, or I would, my ankle would collapse or something like that. I mean, just something to have to make them stop in order to do another take. And that didn't, I mean, they wouldn't let it go on and on like that. But if I really knew, you work so hard for something, you work all week, you work for 10 days at it, and then finally you're getting your chance to show it. And it's going to be televised. The whole world is going to see it. And that one time, and you could have done it so much better because you've done it so much better before in rehearsal, and you don't right at that moment. What else can you do? I mean, there was a time when I was dancing on I think it was the third Barry Manilow special. And this was before Solid Gold. And I played Sid Charisse, and I had to lift up my leg, put it on his shoulder. He grabbed my ankle, so I'm in a split, okay? And he's going to walk backwards. And so he would walk backwards. Well, he wasn't walking backwards very, very well. He was kind of like doing this, and I thought I was going to fall. So I took my leg off, and I said, cut. And the director and everyone, they thought it was pretty funny. The director said, I thought I was the director, right? And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I just know we could do this much better. And I don't think Barry would be happy with it either, and he agreed because of the way, everything went down. But that's, you have to do things like that every once in a while. Can't make a habit of it.
No, absolutely. Now, then you brought up an interesting question subject about the outfits. Do you think the outfits are too skimpy today, or do you think they're too old-fashioned back then? Do you think there's a middle in between the two?
What? Sorry. I have three huskies. They never bark, so I don't know what's going on. But anyway, the costumes that we wore, for example, when I was working with Tina Turner, I did her live stage show for a year. We were on tour in America, her American tour. Her outfits were really glittery and shiny and had a lot of fringe, but they covered you.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was shaking, and the costume shook with you. And that's her, that's part of her style. But it wasn't like bare to the skin, just see your body kind of thing. It was totally different. Solid Gold, on the other hand, was a whole new concept. And I think Ricky Hansen was the one who did the costumes. I think that she did an amazing job with what she had to work with. I mean, the costumes were a lot about the show. I mean, a lot of people talked about the costumes more than anything, but they were really skimpy. I mean, when I look back, I mean, that's in the 80s, you know? I mean, when you think about it, 80s primetime television, that was like, I mean, you know, and then like the end of the shots, they would have a certain shot at the end, and it's just like, I don't know. I mean, I looked at it going, I mean, I look at them now, I look at clips now, and I'm amazed that that went by because I look at all the shows now, all the dance shows that are on now. So You Think You Can Dance, Dancing with the Stars, they're beautiful. The costumes are absolutely gorgeous. But then again, So You Think You Can Dance, different concept of dance now. It's different, more contemporary, more a little bit more free. You have to, I mean, if you're doing hip hop, that's different. You know, you can wear your clothes. But I mean, for the most part, contemporary dance or something that I would be involved in, you need to see your body. You need to be free. You can't be restricted. But you also want to be seeing every single movement that you're making. It's important. You don't want anything hiding that. So from an artistic, it's kind of tricky. And from an artistic point of it, it's, I think, mandatory that you look at it that way and appreciate that person's body along with how they're moving it and the fact that you can see it. And they're sliding on the floor and doing all kinds of things. You can't have, you know, material caught up in all that.
Right.
So it depends on the type of dancing you're doing as well. But I think that if Solid Gold was put on today, I think that those costumes, honestly, they would fit right in. I don't think that's why I'm thinking we were way ahead of our time back then in the 80s. Even that, or just even skimpier. And maybe we'd have more on today if the show was on today.
Or less.
No, they couldn't go any less, I don't think.
But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask you 2 hard-hitting questions, and then I'm going to pass the remaining time over to you.
My name is Vanessa Lina. I'm Adrian Lalo. This is Cynthia Bastinet. I'm Sonia Fisher. This is Shane Smith.
My name is Alexandra Bowie.
My name is Amelia Clover.
Hi, I'm Amy Linden.
Hi, I'm Anita Nicole Brown.
It's Meg Green.
Hi, my name is Asata Caldwell.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brooke.
Hi, I'm Bryn Berg.
Hi, I'm Casey Dunn.
Hi, it's Cassandra Kavinsky.
Hi, I'm Christina Briza.
I'm Cindy Hogan. I'm Courtney Sinello.
Hi, I'm Daisy.
My name is Deborah Jane East.
Hi, my name is Dinah Maasea.
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria London.
Hi, I'm Heather Crona.
Hi, I'm Heather Callahan Stevens.
Hi, I'm J. Nicole Ralph.
My name is Jamie Petrone.
My name is Julie.
My name is Julia Brankovich.
Kathleen Wills.
Kimberly Amato.
Hi, my name is Laura Putnam.
Hi, I'm Laura Chapanis.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Damas.
This is Michelle Mupo, a.k.a. Fuchsia.
I'm Rachel Laverne.
Hi, my name is Sarah Joy Mount.
Hi, I'm Susan Brender.
Hi, everyone. This is Venus Leone.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Turner.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Herrera, and I was just on the Keith Andrew Network. It was tons of fun. We used up all our time and then some. I really recommend this show, and try to be a guest on Keith's show. It was super
fun. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 511. I am your host, Keith, and I'm on here with Mrs. Deborah. And I just want to say thank you for sticking with us. It was the last 16 minutes and counting. You've mentioned 2 names that I do want to talk to you about, and 1 subject, and then I'm going to pass the remaining time over to you. The first one you mentioned, and now I'm drawing a blank, Tina Turner, and then the other one was, I think, Barry White, Barry Manilow?
Mm-hmm.
Which one was it, Barry White or Barry Manilow?
Barry Manilow.
Okay. So, hey, anything can happen in life. So let's start with Barry Manilow, sorry. So with Barry Manilow, do you still keep in contact? And was he professional? Do you guys are cordial? How did all that come about?
Barry is a very unique, special person. I did all 3. There was 3 of his specials back then, even before Solid Gold. Basically, any celebrity who was a singer, dancer, anything to do with music, even an actor who had something to do with music, they would always have a special. Olivia Newton-John, I did hers. Beatrice Arthur, hers. A lot of different people. And then they had the Grammys and the American Music Awards, where then dancers would be a part of a big production number that Madonna was doing or Cyndi Lauper was doing, and they would have one choreographer to choreograph all these dancers with these stars. So I worked with a lot of people, but Barry, we did 3 specials because he would have, I believe, he had a special every year. So Kevin Carlisle was his choreographer, who was the first choreographer of Solid Gold as well. And we got to be friends. No, we don't keep contact, but he would definitely remember me. And, if we saw each other, just like Tina and I have seen each other through the years. I actually talked to her when I was in Milan, Italy, and she was performing, and I went to see her. We were going to go shopping the next day, but it never happened. But things like that. I've worked with her since then on the American Music Awards, and we always, when you're together for a whole year, you don't forget, who that person was, even though your hair might be different or whatever. But we don't keep in contact. But if there was ever a chance that I could, or if I knew she was nearby and I had the opportunity and her number, I would definitely not hesitate to call her and say hello. Barry, great guy. They both were fabulous. He's so professional. He's so fun. He was still willing to learn, and he was at the height of his career then, I believe. And so Tina was almost at the height of her career when I was working with her. She was without Ike. She was just on her way, and as we were at the tail end of her tour, she did sign on with a different manager, which brought her into her height, and her glory and her hits and everything else. But that woman taught me a lot. I learned so much from her. I respect her immensely. She's a hard worker. I worked my ass off. Literally, I did. We would have to go backstage and have 2 minutes to change, run back on, and sing back up. I was a singer and dancer with her show. And there was only 4 of us, 2 girls, 2 guys. And it was fantastic. It was probably the fastest, most exciting, and better learning experience for me. As a rookie, I just came out here. So that was a quick learning experience for me. It was wonderful, though. She paved the way for me to just hop into everything, know what I was doing, know how to do it. I love her.
No, do you talk about the 80s? I love the 80s, even though I was born at 88, towards the late 80s, so early 90s. But I am a big fan of, I love the 80s, so I constantly watch it, not every day, but I watch it occasionally, from 85. You had He-Man. And 85 was a good year, too, because you had He-Man, you had She-Ra, you had the Thundercats, you had, I think, the Silverhawks who came out that year. Vince McMahon took a chance, and look how it paid off today. We have WrestleMania. WrestleMania was a big thing, and I was going to ask you about that in a second. And you mentioned, Cyndi Lauper. She was a part of WrestleMania. Barry, he might have been in the audience of WrestleMania. I'm not really sure. Tina Turner. You have all these big names, from the 80s. And you look back, it's 30 years ago, but yeah, some of the movies were kind of crappy. But you had great music. You had some great nostalgia. You had video games, or some were hands down classics. And some of them are kind of like, who cares? Cartoons, pop culture. It's funny, people have those ripped jeans. And it's funny because they started from the 80s, disappeared, came back in 92. disappeared and now they're back in style. So it's funny how, 30 years, 40 years. Look at vinyl records for that matter. Vinyl records are a big thing, and so it doesn't really matter what it is. 30, 40 years, it will always be coming back in style. But I was going to ask you, you worked with Tina Turner and a whole bunch of great people. Have you ever gone to a wrestling event, and have you ever worked any big mainstream events? I know you mentioned ones you worked with Barry, but you mean like anything you say, I was a part of that, I helped create what that is. Like, Cyndi Lauper was a part of WrestleMania, and she did like the first ever women's match for WrestleMania. Were you ever in a position where you did something similar to that, where you said, I was a part of Barry's golden, or whatever you want to call it, and then it's like going back and you say, yep, I take pride in that?
I don't think so. I mean, I was a part of a lot of people's shows. I mean, James Brown in concert, I did his show. I did Xanadu before all that, so I was a part of that whole thing. There were so many musicians I met on Solid Gold every week. I mean, that was incredible. But from there, they did shows for Show West, which was for Paramount. So we would go to Vegas and do those shows, or go somewhere else and do those shows. There were a lot of things we had to do. I did choreograph Lou Ferrigno's workout video, and because you mentioned wrestling, so that got me on muscles. My dad's a professional wrestler. My dad was a professional wrestler. He's in the Hall of Fame of wrestlers now, but
hands down. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ray Boom Boom Mancini. He was a boxer. I choreographed his video, his workout video, because I was really into a lot of fitness back then too. So was into that. But I also choreographed a few things. I choreographed something to go to Bogota, and I used some of the Solid Gold dancers to do it with me. And that was one time when I took Darcel and I took a couple of the other dancers. I was a choreographer, and I put the whole thing together. And that was different. That was different. Bogota was scary, but it was different. And things like that. I mean, I've choreographed for a lot of kids' shows as far as being a part of and making something happen. I mean, I'm just elaborating on that, but it's I've done a lot of things. The Wizard of Oz, The Music Man, Annie. Actually, the Wizard of Oz twice for big theater groups out here in California, and then one private school a couple times. So, things have been interesting that way, coming in and out, because in '85 I wasn't on Solid Gold anymore. So I was kind of on my own doing a lot of videos, music videos for Loverboy, Rod Stewart, Was Not Was, a couple other people that never quite got out there. But those were fun things to do too. So it just involved a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. Now, I started to laugh when you mentioned you worked with Lou Ferrigno. And I didn't mean to interrupt before when you mentioned your father is a WWE Hall of Famer. I would love to have him on the show, hands down. We can talk about it in a second. But I started to laugh when you mentioned you work with Rupert Ferrigno, and I can't remember. He lives, I think, in Rockland County, or he lives somewhere near me, in the New York area, and I would love to have him on the show. But have you ever seen him turn mad? Like, you're doing the choreography, and he messed up, and he goes, and he turns mad, and turns into the Incredible Hulk?
No. Unfortunately, I haven't seen that. He was really sweet. I mean, most of his video was just about working out and showing me how to demonstrate things and stuff like that. But he's adorable. He's just a really, really nice guy. I've never seen that part. Never seen that part of him. It was a good thing, but no. you know.
It would have been funny, you know. It's like, and I'd say, okay, cut. And he turns into the Hulk. He's like, no one tells me cut.
Exactly. I know.
But the next question I was going to ask you is, who, don't mind me, I went on to my work as a way, I kind of built up a brain fart. You mentioned that your father is in the WWE Hall of Fame, and recently was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. And I should have done more research. I just basically jumped into it. Just, you know, I just throw caution to the wind. Who is your father, and what Hall of Fame was he inducted into?
His name was Tony Marino, Marino. If you ever want to look him up, he's got a lot of coverage out there. He's friends with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He had Christmases with his family in Hawaii, I think it was in Hawaii. Could have been California, but I think it might have been Hawaii at the time. And then when I was teaching at Gold's Gym, I met Dwayne. And because my father told me about his parents and knowing them, and actually my father was at his father's house when Dwayne came home from college one year, and they all celebrated together.
Oh, nice.
So I went and said, hey, you know my dad, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of cool. But he's quite a character, and he still is. He's a good guy, great person, heart of gold. He's older now. He's up there. He's in his 80s, but he looks like a wrestler still. He looks like one of those professional wrestlers, you know, what can I do? But yeah, he did it. I have magazine pictures of him holding me with his one hand, my 2 feet, you know, and all these wrestling magazines and things like that. It was great. I went to some of the matches when I was little, but I couldn't handle it. You know, I couldn't handle seeing him get hurt. You know, and then when I got older, I was just like, oh, you know, that's not real. That's not. He would get so mad at me. He's so mad at me, you know, because he did get hurt. He got hurt a lot. He got sent to the hospital a lot. I mean, things just, you know, you get hurt. It's even when you're like a kickboxer or a kung fu artist or whatever, you're supposed to know what you're doing, but you still get hurt. You know, but yeah, he was inducted in the Hall of Fame of wrestlers, and he also wrestled as Batman for a while. That was part of his thing. So I will send you some pictures of how eccentric my father is, because he has like the Batman emblem on the back of his head.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's bald. Has it down here, all cut out. The bat's all cut out in the back of his head.
Well, it's a possibility. I would love to have him on the show.
But you never know. Probably could.
Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But wrapping up our interview segment, are you on social media, you know, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Stage 32? And when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your first reaction? And what made you say yes?
Well, first of all, number one was your cause. Number one was you seemed like a great person. You just came on and you said exactly, I think it was on Facebook, you said exactly what you were looking for. You introduced yourself. You did it quite professionally. As I said, I never would have known anything unless you told me. I still wouldn't. You know, I think what you're doing is fantastic. I think that it's true. You know, you put your mind to anything that you want to do, and you'd be able to do it. As long as you have that passion in you, you have that passion in your heart, that's what drives people. That's what drove me. That's what drives people who think that they can, because society makes you think that sometimes. You know, you got to, it's like the media. You've got to push it away. And you've got to just focus on you, who you are, what you love, what you want, and try to do the best you can. Sometimes you're not going to make it exactly right to that point, but close, and that's all you need. What an accomplishment! What gratification! You know, that's what life is all about. You know, and you've got people to support you I'm sure you have tons of people supporting you, and I wanted to be one of them because I love giving it. I love giving that kind of support for someone just like you who is doing what you're doing, and you're sharing exciting and things that, you know, people want to hear and they want to know about, and it's not garbage, and it's not fabricated, and it's not fake, and it's not anything. It's just real, and that's important. That's important, and I commend you.
No, I agree, and I know there are some people I won't mention. One person, if you can make that difference in one person's life,
True.
That's all that matters. And I'm not trying to please, you know, certain people. I'm not ass kissing. This is what I want to do until I die. You can either support me, or you can make friends with the door. And, you know, a lot of people say to me, when wrapping up your show, ask me the questions beforehand. And I'm a big fan of Bill O'Reilly. I'm a big fan of Bill Maher. And I'm thinking, yes, I would like to do what Bill Maher does, just come out and bullshit. But I like it to be real. And I don't say, okay, today we're going to talk about this and that. And even though I did give you a couple of examples before we get started, what we're going to talk about, you had no idea before what we're going to talk about. So what you're saying before is about being real and genuine. That's what I want to show people. It's like, hey, give me an opportunity, and I'm going to run with it.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what you do, and that's awesome. And really, that's all that matters is how you feel. You know, you can't let anybody else's input ever deter you from anything that you feel. You know, you're not hurting anyone. You're making things. You like you said, one person. There's a lot more than one person that is going to listen to what you have to say on a topic that they may be interested in. You know, so I mean, I think it's great what you're doing, and I'm happy that you're doing it. I'm happy for you.
No, I appreciate it. I do have a couple questions for you off the air. Wrapping up our interview segment, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.
Thank you so much, Keith. It was a pleasure as well.